There's a big lie that you are probably telling yourself right now, and that is that alcohol only affects you, that your drinking habits are only affecting you. They're not affecting your wife or your husband or your spouse or your children or your colleagues or your friends or generations of families to come. Today, we are talking to Jim Miller, 64-year-old from San Diego, California, who is the Director of Membership Development at Alcohol Free Lifestyle, which is the organization that I founded, which helps high achievers to change their relationship to alcohol. Jim is someone that I've known for almost a decade now. He's the former vice president of sales for Tony Robbins. He sat on Tony Robbins' executive board. He's a former vice president of sales at T. Harv Eker and Success Resources International, and he is a fellow in the Harvard University Institute of Coaching. He's also a father of 2 teenage girls, been married 21 years, and he is on the front line of speaking to our prospective clients who come to us investigating if or how they might be able to get involved in either our 90-day stop drinking programs or our 1-year stop drinking program. Jim Miller, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Great to be here, James.
Tell us about your childhood growing up with an alcoholic father, because I'm assuming that you are very much aware of the big lie around alcohol affecting only the person who's consuming it.
I am. My father, who was an alcoholic, he's passed away now, whose father was an alcoholic, whose father was an alcoholic. So I was raised in that environment. I was the oldest of 4 children, and my dad was a truck driver and ultimately a cab driver. So we were, a family of modest means. And I grew up as a young boy, right? Wanting, as young boys do, my dad was my hero, right? I wanted to, we were into sports and, we watched football games together and everything. And so every day I would await my father to come home to interact. And, when he first got home, the first thing he'd do is he'd pour himself a drink. And then ultimately I watched him basically disappear into a bottle of Taka vodka and drink until he basically passed out. And so every day I lost my father, and it was like, it was a constant thing all of my life. And yeah, I suffered grievously from it, with depression, with isolation, with my own identity, suicidal thoughts, and even a suicide attempt. Hopelessness, it wasn't because of my father. It was because of the alcohol effect on our family, because I saw what it was doing. It would, between the relationship between my mother and father, the relationship between my father and his children, how we lived as a family, right? And how alcohol was just such a, always present and always acceptable in our family, right? Because of my father. My mother was not a drinker at all, but she suffered she was in that relationship with alcohol, and so were we. That's the one thing that, again, that when I speak to the people that are on the phone, I ask them, do you realize you're not the only one in this relationship? Your wife and your children are in the relationship with alcohol as well. You may not know that, but that's a lie if you believe this is only about you and alcohol. That's where the lie begins.
Yeah, and why is it so easy for people to convince themselves of that lie? Like, why?
Because of our clients are very high performing clients. So we can do anything, right? We can build businesses, we can run marathons, we can raise families, we can We can do everything. And we believe that we have some sort of control over this. We believe that someday, in some way, right, things are going to change, and that, I've got this under control. I've insulated my family from it. And it's the coping mechanisms that we have to put in place in order to make life work, as we're drowning ourselves in alcohol, right? This coping mechanism that lies to us and makes us believe we've got things under control, that nobody recognizes, that I'm the only one being affected. We believe that. And unfortunately, it's a lie. It's a lie. I can tell you this.
When you deliver this news that it's a lie to those folks who phone us and connect with us and apply to be part of our stop drinking education,
yeah,
is there pushback or is there acceptance?
Sometimes there's pushback. Most times there's acceptance. Most time, because in a phone call with me, what we do discuss is your reality, not the reality you try to create to cope or to perform or to show up as. We talk about the reality that's really happening, right? What's going on? Just out of curiosity, for example, when you drink all Saturday night, next morning on a Sunday, you don't wake up. And when you do, you wake up hungover or not feeling well. What type of interaction are you having with your children on their day off from school? Family day. What interaction are you having? None. Right? Okay. Consider, what effect do you believe this is having on your children? That they're not able to interact at the level of other children with their parents, because when you're coming home, your first interaction is not with your children, it's with a can of beer, or it's with a bottle of vodka, whatever the case may be. And then it continues. And your interest and your focus is on that alcohol. It's not on your children. It's not on your wife. It's not on your husband. It's not on your health, right? And when I start having this conversation and we start, like, for example, I was on a phone call today, and, I was asking, the frequency of how many beers do you have each day? And he told me, he said, well, it starts with 1. I said, where does it end? He said, it ends with 6. So I said, so if you're drinking 6 beers a day times 7, that's 42 times 4. Do you realize how many beers you're having? You're having over 170 beers every 30 days. Do you realize that? And these thoughts, the big lie, which keeps you oblivious to what's really going on, the amount of alcohol you're putting in your system, the effect that it's having, right? The amount of financial opportunity you're losing out on because you're not showing up as a 10, you're showing up, here's the average number, James, a 5. So you're leaving half of you in a bottle or in a can, and it's the other half's not, and it's not showing up. Imagine if you showed up at a level 10 every day, right?
I mean, we experience people showing up as 10 when they've stopped drinking through our education, through our community. I was thinking about, I was thinking of 2 clients that we've had. Angela Ponsford, she's a wonderful Scottish woman who lives on the east coast of Australia, and she has twin girls who are probably early teens now. But she's a digital marketing agency manager, and she joined our Project 90 program about 3 years ago. Let's see, when was it? It must have been end of 2018, so 3.5 years ago. And she said to me, I remember we were having our enrollment call, and she said to me that she drinks on a Thursday or Friday night towards the end of her week, and then she wakes up tired and lethargic and irritable on a Saturday or Sunday morning when her twin girls are not at school and they're looking. Excuse me, she's a single mom, and they're looking to mom to go and do something.
Yeah.
And she said that she used to just sit on the couch and ignore pretty much her twin girls. Mm-hmm. So she didn't have that connection. She wasn't really experiencing presence with her twin girls. Mm-hmm. And this had accumulated over a couple of years. By the way, she doesn't mind me using her name because Angela Ponsford has been in many case study videos for our organization over the years. Anyway, she went through our 90-day stop drinking experience. She got the coaching. And now I interview her once a year now because she's still alcohol-free 3.5 years later, which is incredible. But one of the things that she always says, that she repeatedly says, is that she has so much more time and so much more quality time with her twin girls now. Absolutely. Their relationship is so connected. She's so present. She gets to do things with them that ordinarily she wouldn't because she was tired. They go out and do activities on the weekends. I actually went and visited her. I was down in Australia about 1.5 years ago, and I went to Lennox Head, where she lives on the east coast of Sydney, east coast of Australia, which is about an hour drive south of Byron Bay, several hours north of Sydney. And I sat with her and her twin daughters, and they got along famously. They got along so well. They were so connected. They were laughing and joking, and it was such a pleasure to see. So I think of Angela Ponsford, and then I think of John Keltner. And John Keltner also joined us around December 2018. He's still alcohol-free today, and he wasn't as connected, said he didn't feel as connected to his son. And now he is. In fact, he took upon the role of coaching his son's basketball team, high school basketball team, and has father-son time there because he's now alcohol-free. He's 3.5 years alcohol-free now, and always is talking about having such a much more enriching relationship with his son, who's probably in his early teens also right now. Hi, this is James Swanwick with a Save the Date announcement. Our annual retreat is taking place on January 19, 20, and 21 of 2023 in the country of Colombia, just outside of Medellin, Colombia, in fact. If you have always wanted to visit Colombia or you fancy a January trip abroad, join us at our annual wellness weekend where we will have speakers, hiking, breathwork, and lots more. We did our annual retreat this year, 2022, in Austin, Texas. And 2 years ago, before the pandemic hit, we had it in Los Angeles, California. Now, in 2023, we're going international. So if you would like to join me, our top coach, Victoria English, and a whole host of Project 90 clients, past clients, and prospective clients, and you want to bring your family or your spouse, and you'd like to join us in Medellin, Colombia, January 19, 2021, then send me an email to james@alcoholfreelifestyle.com and just put in the subject line Colombia. By the way, you spell Colombia Colombia. Most Americans like to say Colombia, Columbia, but the correct spelling is Colombia, Colombia. So if you email me at james@alcoholfreelifestyle.com with the subject line Colombia, we will save your details. We will send you details and put you on the wait list. And in a couple of weeks from now, more details will be made available. Hope to see you just outside of Medellin, Colombia. Let's get back to today's episode. You know, the big lie, like we said, is alcohol only affects you. I mean, it's affecting your relationship with your children, right?
Absolutely. And, you know, a lot of, and by the way, funny enough, my 17-year-old daughter and I are going to a concert Saturday night to see The Weeknd, right? So it's just going to be she and I to see The Weeknd. So a lot of fun. But I have a lot of people that come on, mothers or fathers, and they have young children, right? They have young children. And I can tell you this right now, that if that relationship is not established while they're young, when they're teenagers, you won't see them. They won't want to be with you. Teenagers don't want to be with parents anyway, hardly, right? But I can tell you, if your focus isn't establishing and spending that time with them, and your main priority is alcohol, or your diversion is alcohol, and you think you're being the family guy or the family mom, but alcohol is stealing you away every day from your children, you won't have a relationship with them by the time they're teenagers. You won't. I mean, and you would have missed out on their youth, and it flies by. It really does. Mm-hmm. The other big lie about alcohol, James, if I may, one last thing, is that you've got time. Alcohol tells you, oh, you got time. You've got time. You can deal with this later. You'll get a hold of this one day. You'll overcome it. And it's like, no, you don't have time. You really don't have time. You'd have time if you were drinking one beer here and there. But if you're slamming down 4 and 5 beers every day, or 3 and 4 cocktails every day, you don't have time, because you are accelerating time with the massive amounts of alcohol that you're consuming that are doing damage to you that you don't recognize. You're accelerating time. So you're cutting time short. You know, your life expectancy, my friend, as a healthy, viable human being, is being cut short. The number one precursor to Alzheimer and dementia is alcohol abuse. One of them, right?
Yeah. You know, I see that in my father-in-law, my mother's husband. He's 79, about to be 80. He may actually be 80. Mm-hmm. And he has the first signs, well, not the first signs. In fact, there have been signs for a number of years, but it's increasing at a pretty rapid rate of Alzheimer's and dementia. And he has always been a very heavy drinker. Not a heavy drinker in the sense that he's, been violent or there's been any kind of real problems, just a very fun, happy-go-lucky, heavy social drinker. And my suspicion, and certainly what the doctor has told us, is that a lifetime of heavy drinking, consistent drinking, is taking its toll, is now showing up in Alzheimer's and dementia. Now, I can't say that definitively. I'm not a doctor, but the circumstantial evidence points very much to that. And he comes from a generation where drinking a lot is celebrated. He's got Irish roots, and he's Australian, and he's 80 years old, right? So
you stand a chance.
Everything social is all about drinking copious amounts of beer.
I'm from New Orleans, same way, same culture.
Right. I mean, I see him joke now. It's not hilarious to me, but it's eye-opening to me now. He'll still joke about his drinking habits with a cheeky look on his eye. Like, part of his personality is kind of like a sly little grin, and he's like, oh, maybe we'll knock back a few beers on the weekend. Oh yeah, he kind of says it with such kind of enthusiasm and love. And I mean, God bless him. But at the same time, I shake my head at the logic, because I'm like, all right, you've chosen to live this way, but now my mother's having to take care of you. Now you can't leave the home by yourself. You have to be taken everywhere. He can't make decisions. My mother makes all the decisions. And some may say, well, it's just old age. It's just advancing age. And sure, that there's a part of that. But I'm telling you, well, I'm not telling you. I'm just saying that the circumstantial evidence, and from everything that I've read, points the finger very much at his lifetime of fun social alcohol use has led him to this declining years where now he's incapable of making decisions or leaving the house by himself. It's not fun.
Let me give you one example too, by the way, about how, we believe that we will dodge the bullet of alcohol. Okay. It's like, I've got it under control. It's causing me some problems here and there, but nothing drastic has happened. Okay. Let me give you one example, one story out here in California. I'm Catholic. In the Catholic Church here, the one of the associate bishops of of San Diego was appointed the bishop of San Francisco. I mean, this is big. To become a bishop in the Catholic Church is big, right? Super Bowl. It's like winning the Super Bowl. All right. So he went to his mother's house to celebrate, have a dinner, few glasses of wine. On the way to San Francisco, on the way home, got a DUI. And it was all in the newspapers, national newspapers. New appointee bishop starts with a DUI. The big lie. I got it. Nothing's going to happen to me.
I mean, we're laughing, but we shouldn't be laughing. It's
well,
yeah.
There's the room for you know how they say some things you've got room for error, margin of error, room for error. With alcohol, room for error could mean that you had 3 beers and you've got your kids in the back seat of a car and you're driving and you don't think you're impaired and you are. 3 days ago, I had someone tell me, it said, a woman, she said, I'm going to confess to you. The reason I'm on this call is I drove home drunk with my kids in the car. And the big lie.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen to me.
That's distressing to hear that. Yeah.
Severe consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be drastic, but I mean, hey, I every day I'm hearing of the consequences. I'm hearing the consequences every single day on these phone calls.
Yeah. And just to clarify, Jim here talks to all of our applicants for our 90-day and 365-day programs. And if you would like to speak with Jim, maybe a confessional, Jim, does it sound like that sometimes when people are talking? Yeah. If you would like to speak with Jim and you would like to get our support in helping you to change your relationship to alcohol, I invite you to book a call. You can do that by going to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/schedule. There you will be asked to just answer a few questions. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your situation. We will have one of our coaches, Victoria or Corey, just give you a quick introductory 15-minute call just to ascertain if or how we may be able to support you. And if we ascertain that we certainly can, then at that point you will be scheduled to speak directly with Jim here. Jim is a 64-year-old Sicilian heritage. Is that right, Jim?
Sicilian and Cajun French.
Okay, Sicilian and Cajun French. All right. Right. And Jim is the director of membership development and alcohol-free lifestyle. So if you have any questions you'd like to ask him about how we may be able to support you, again, you can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/schedule. And that link is also clickable down in the description of this podcast episode. Jim, thank you for sharing about the big lies. We started off with it being the big lie, but really it's probably the big lies is probably more appropriate.
Big lies. Yeah.
Yeah. Jim, thank you so much for you, the listener. Thank you as well. And we will catch you guys on the next one. Hi there, this is James Swanwick. Thank you so much for listening to the show. I would be so grateful if you would leave a review. That will help us climb the rankings and get our show exposed to so many more people who could really benefit from the content. You can do that by going into Apple Podcasts, rating the show, writing a little 1-sentence summary, and posting it. That would be so amazing. Thank you. Likewise, if you would like to schedule a 15-minute exploratory call and apply for our Project 90 program, then you can do so by going to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/project90. If you'd like to get the free guide, that is the Alcohol Freedom Formula Guide, you can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/guide. Our YouTube channel is at alcoholfreelifestyle.com/YouTube. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at James Swanwick. Thank you so much for listening. We so appreciate you, and we'll catch you on the next one.